am Rick Grant, and this is Walking the Virtual Dog. So this is the show where we take a step back and take a look at the IT industry through the eyes of the industry's analyst. And to make sense of it, we call on veteran industry analyst practitioner Thomas Ward Lynch, who joins us now. Thomas, thanks for being here. What's on deck for today?
What is on deck for today? Oh, yes, absolutely. We're taking a look at some trends, but we're also taking a look at the overall IT industry and the spend. You know, that old saying, Rick, that the tide will rise all the boats in the harbor, right? Well, that's not what's going on right now. So we're actually going to review some work that IDC has done recently. And again, these are highly publicized around the world. And they some numbers. So the point that is being made here is that the performance within the IT market is actually patchy. And we're taking a look at this through the IDC's latest worldwide IT spending growth report. Okay, so that's what we're looking at through that lens. So thankfully, IDC has done a lot of research and given us a lot of data that we can look through. Now, I'm going to speak to these numbers very quickly, and then we're going to get into some conclusions that were drawn from the analyst that was involved in the research itself. So first of all, this year, overall IT services growth this year is going to be about 6%. And that means that large enterprises and also small, medium-sized businesses are committed to long-term digital transformation investments, despite this short-term economic turbulence or unknown turbulence that we're currently going through. Now, overall software spending growth, according to this report, will be almost 11%, driven mostly by cloud software revenues. Remember what I'm saying here, cloud software revenues. Remember, we have a breakdown of those cloud components to consider, which will increase by 19%. This marks a slowdown compared to last year's cloud software growth of 25%, but it's still growth. And the growth of public cloud in terms of infrastructure as a service will also be slow compared to last year. Instead of 33% in 2022, it's going to be 26% in 2023. Now, this means that there's going to be some winners and losers in terms of IT services provider. It largely depends on their offering. Software and services spending continues to grow. There's been significant pullback in capital spending on hardware, in other words, servers and storage equipment. The decline has largely been fueled by raising interest rates and recent turmoil in the banking sector. You know, that's the area that you're supposed to be riding herd on. So, you know, don't go asleep at the wheel, Rick.
That doesn't come to my desk, sir.
Banking sector, man. I think we've all had enough sleepless nights on that one. So here's the thing. PC spending will decline by 12% this year. We've already talked about PC spending. Peripheral hardware spending will be down about 3%. Server storage spending, in other words, this is data spending, data center spending, is forecast to increase by just 2% a year. That's up, okay. It's down from 23% in 2022, but it's still an increase of 2%. Infrastructure, cloud infrastructure will continue to grow. Non-cloud server storage spending will decline about 7% this year. So that's how we're looking at it. So do we have a conclusion that we can draw from this? Well, the researcher does. Stephen Minton, who's the vice president in IDC's Data and Analytics Research Group, commented that businesses are much more cost conscious than a year ago, when inflation was adding to the strong growth across much of the IT market. Efforts to consolidate and control cloud budgets, along with economic uncertainty, mean that IT vendors are having to adjust to a slower pace of growth in the new post-COVID market. Nevertheless, continued double-digit growth in overall cloud spending is driving historic levels of resiliency for the tech industry. Usually when we see a downturn in macroeconomics, we expect and anticipate a downturn in IT investment. We continue to look upon this, and the analyst community does as well, as a sign of resiliency. Now, what does this mean, Rick, in terms of both sides of the table? The vendors, the manufacturers, you know, the IBMs, the Oracles, the Microsofts, the AWSs of the world, and also the consumer side, the B2Bs, the businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, large enterprises, and others that are large consumers of IT technology. What does it mean to everybody? And I'll tell you what it means. It means that we have to be focusing completely on ROI. The bells and whistles are no longer important. They cannot be the emphasis of a spend. And whenever I read this quote from Steve Minton that says businesses are much more cost conscious, it means we need to be walking in as vendors and as resellers and business partners with a really good business case for the investment that the consumer and the customer or the client is looking to make. At the same time, the client and the customer and the consumer, well, they need to be expecting it. And if the vendor falls short of that, then maybe that's not the best option for you to consider for your investments moving forward.
I hear you. So what can you say about where those investments are going to be made, if anything?
Well, again, we're looking at infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about software as a service platforms. But focusing on those two, those are the top concerns. Again, it's cloud technologies. And it's IT services that are enabling technologies that are going to do the smart work of assisting an organization going through their digital transformation. And hopefully, they're doing IT modernization. So that's where we really are. Now, let's turn our attention toward the other side of the globe for a moment. And let's take a look at another highly circulated piece of research that was done by IDC. And this was about CRM platforms, customer relationship management platforms. Generally speaking, those platforms are software as a service. In other words, I don't have a CD laying around here for Salesforce. I log online and I go up into the cloud and I do my CRM work. And that's basically software as a service platforms are exactly what we're discussing here. It's apparent that Salesforce is gaining traction over SAP in the CRM space in the Asian Pacific region. Now, the interesting thing about this is the fact that I want you to stop and think about that for a minute, because I know what you're thinking. Why are we looking on the other side of the globe? Why are we talking about numbers in the Asian Pacific region? And it's CRM. Why would we be doing that? Rick, think about how many times you called a call center and it was there, not here.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
bet.
no, you're exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah. So as we look at these numbers, and I hopefully you've got the numbers up on the screen for our viewers to look at. These CRM applications market Pacific area, I'm just going to talk to the numbers as they can look at the chart, is 14% to 4.25 billion in the first half of 2022. So this was a discussion about 2022 numbers. Salesforce is at an 18.7% market share. SAP is the closest with 6.6. Then we look at Oracle, Microsoft, Adobe, Genesys, and Shopify are the leading vendors. And there's a whole lot of others. But the point is, as I looked at this information, the light bulb went off in my head that, you know what, we're actually looking at where most customer relationship management issues are resolved. Also, we're looking at where a lot of initial prospecting takes place. So they are using these solutions to get the job done, in many cases for an offshoring operation for domestic companies here in the United States. Not to mention also they're doing it for Europe as well. Now, in the recent IDC survey, organizations' key priorities are driven by customer sentiment. In other words, they're looking at ways in which they can do better and more efficient customer resolution by finding the pain points, metrics improvements, the customer engagements, and so on that are key KPIs for CRM. And they help drive customer value, long-term customer relationships, and customer loyalty. So is there any conclusions that we can draw from this? Well, I can't, but I certainly can expect the analysts to. And Lavanya Jindal, who's the market analyst for customer experience and enterprise applications, was quoted as saying that while there has been an increase in the presence of cloud-based CRM solutions, there's still a need to further understand what challenges technology buyers are facing and how technology vendors can drive product innovation in terms of advanced analytics capabilities, low-code, no-code features, and more extensive customization. And, you know, this customization could come through, generative AI. Now, when we talk about low-code, no-code features, that's another aspect that gets away from the Web3 or metaverse model completely. So fascinating stuff, because even though it's over there, it has dramatic impact over here. Well, Rick, finally, generative AI isn't just for college students writing term papers and copywriters anymore. We moved past that point with a new release from New Relic called New Relic Grok. Now, this is the world's first generative AI assistant for observability. So it's actually an engineering tool. It reduces the toil of manually sifting through data and makes observability accessible to all regardless of prior experience, and unlocks insights into the data source. It's leveraging OpenAI's large language models and New Relic's unified telemetry data platform. So New Relic Grok allows engineers to use natural language prompts to perform tasks previously done via traditional user interfaces. So there's a whole set of assets and features and functions that came out of this news release, Rick. But what I really found to be the jewel here for us to look at was to take a look at the quotation that was provided by Stephen Elliott about generative AI. And I thought it was a landmark quote, which really stuck with me, by saying that generative AI is a technological paradigm shift that will transform how software is and maintained. Winning solutions should go beyond chatbots. And let me just stop right there and say, please go beyond chatbots. And language processors to holistic intelligence solutions that provide a single source of truth, break down silos, and ensure knowledge workers smarter and deliver clear business results.
Yeah, very exciting. All right, next time you're going to take us on a bit of a ride, and we're going to have your final thoughts from this week's analyst comments, right?
That's right. We're going to talk about not just a ride, but the ride, your ride, the viewer's ride. We're going to talk about cars. It is amazing what has come about as a result of changes with technology in terms of the promise and the new opportunities that are now facing the automotive and manufacturing industries.
I love it. I can't wait. Make sure you like and subscribe to this so you'll be automatically notified, and then watch for next time on Walking the Virtual Dog.